GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action. Live from the GMNA News Center, this is the Lunch Break News Hour.
Good afternoon, I'm CJ Waterhouse. We'll start with the surprising metro sound echoing on Toronto streets, then look at the sharp rise in homeless deaths across Quebec. Traffic's heavy on the bridges, and Rosie's Burgers just opened in Griffintown. Over to you, Jeff.
The Lasso Montreal Country Music Festival kicks off this weekend at Parc Jean Drapeau, showcasing 10 Canadian and American artists across 2 stages.
Tickets cost $30 for general admission, granting access from noon Saturday until midnight Sunday, with food trucks and family-friendly activities throughout the venue.
Headlining Saturday night is Nashville star Willow Green, followed by Friday's surprise acoustic set from Quebec folk duo Les Fuels, while Sunday closes with bluegrass trio The Prairie Echoes.
The festival promises lively tunes and community spirit. Tickets are selling fast and the lineup is set. Lots to get to, let's begin. Here are our top stories.
Sprawling street cleaning vacuums are emitting a sound identical to the Montreal metro across Toronto streets, a phenomenon that began this week and continues today. Colette Barbeau has the full story.
At a busy intersection on Yonge Street, the familiar whine of a subway train rolls through the summer air, but it isn't coming from underground. Large green-painted waste vacuum trucks from Xprolink are humming a low, resonant tone that residents instantly recognize as the Montreal Metro's signature sound. The machines, part of the city's street cleaning fleet, use powerful suction fans that vibrate metal housings, producing a rhythmic rumble that mirrors the Quebec capital's rail system. Passers-by pause, some pulling out phones to capture the odd echo, while crews continue sweeping debris from sidewalks. The unexpected soundtrack has sparked curiosity among commuters, who hear a piece of Montreal in the heart of Toronto. Colette Barbeau, GMNA News, Toronto. University of Sherbrooke researchers report a 180% rise in Quebec homeless deaths between 2020 and 2024, marking the first systematic provincial data. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
Researchers at Université de Sherbrooke say deaths among Quebec's unhoused population have surged, climbing roughly 180% between 2020 and 2024. The analysis, based on newly gathered provincial records, shows the number of fatalities more than doubled over that 4-year span. Prior to this effort, officials had no systematic count of annual deaths among people without stable housing. The team compiled data from medical examiner reports, coroners, and shelter logs to create the first province-wide mortality profile. Findings reveal a sharp upward trend that officials and service providers will need to address as they plan outreach and prevention measures. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Montreal.
The provincial governments of Quebec and Ontario will reclassify sandhill cranes as fair game this fall, opening designated zones in 2 Quebec regions and several Ontario areas to hunters. Colette Barbeau has the full story.
Sandhill cranes are now listed as fair game in designated hunting zones across 2 Quebec regions and several Ontario districts this fall. Provincial wildlife agencies said the change comes after a review of population data, opening the migratory species to regulated harvest for the first time in both provinces. Hunters will be limited to specific parcels identified on official maps, with season dates set for the upcoming autumn months. The move follows a coordinated assessment that found stable numbers, allowing limited hunting without jeopardizing the bird's overall health. Officials emphasize that the new rules apply only where explicitly marked, and that monitoring will continue throughout the season. Colette Barbeau, GMNA News, Montreal. Newfoundland and Quebec premiers Tony Wakeham and Christine Freichette will meet in St. John's tomorrow to unveil a revised Churchill Falls agreement aimed at bolstering regional energy security and economic growth. Ramai Gaudreau has the full story.
Premiers Tony Wakeham and Christine Freichette have gathered in downtown St. John's to unveil a fresh energy framework tied to a renegotiated Churchill Falls contract. Both leaders stand beside the historic harbor, outlining a plan that pairs heightened regional power reliability with new investment corridors aimed at boosting local industry. The joint announcement, slated for release on August 17, promises to channel additional hydroelectric capacity into Quebec and Newfoundland Labrador grids, while earmarking funds for downstream manufacturing and job creation. Officials say the revised deal seeks to lock in long-term supply contracts and diversify revenue streams for both provinces. Negotiations have been underway for months, and this meeting marks the first public reveal of the updated terms. Ramai Godreau, GMNA News, St. John's.
Drummondville cemeteries are posting notices on graves to locate descendants after maintenance contracts expired, leaving plots unattended. The measure reflects a broader Quebec trend. Ramai Godreau has the full story.
With maintenance contracts now expired, 2 municipal cemeteries in Drummondville have begun taping handwritten notices to vacant headstones, asking anyone who recognizes a name to step forward. The notices explain that without a valid contract, the sites can no longer fund regular upkeep, and they hope to locate surviving family members who might assume responsibility. Cemetery manager Arian Krall said the approach is a last resort effort after other outreach attempts fell flat. Groundskeeper Martin Tremblay added that volunteers will only tend graves that have a designated caretaker. The campaign mirrors a growing practice across Quebec, where authorities turn to public appeals on tombstones to preserve neglected sites. The initiative began in early August and will stay posted through the month's end, giving relatives a window to respond. Ramai Godreau, GMNA News, Drummondville.
Coming up, we'll dive into the $2.3 billion Montreal port expansion and what it means for jobs. We will be right back. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes, the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. Quebec apple growers are trialing an anti-hail cannon in an orchard to protect fruit from frequent storm damage, a novel technology that could reshape regional harvest protection. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
An apple orchard in Quebec is field testing a high-powered anti-hail cannon aimed at defending fruit from sudden storms. The system fires a series of shockwaves whenever weather radar detects hail cells approaching, creating a turbulent air column that is meant to disrupt hail formation before it reaches the trees. Growers hope the technology will reduce the frequent damage that cold snaps and hail bring to their crops each year. The trial, launched early this morning, will run through the peak of the summer season, with sensors logging each activation and any resulting impact on fruit loss. Results will guide whether the cannon could become a standard safeguard for orchards across the province. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Quebec.
Construction has begun on a new wharf for the Port of Montreal expansion, a $2.3 billion project aimed at boosting capacity along the St. Lawrence River. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
Construction crews have broken ground on a new wharf today, marking the first phase of the Port of Montreal's multi-billion-dollar expansion. Heavy equipment lines the riverbank as steel girders are hoisted into place, and workers in orange vests are already preparing the concrete foundations that will stretch several hundred meters into the St. Lawrence. The project, funded at $2.3 billion, is slated to boost the port's handling capacity and accommodate larger cargo ships. Officials say the work will run through the next several years, with the first container terminals expected to open in the early 2030s. The development is being promoted as a nation-building infrastructure effort aiming to strengthen Canada's trade links. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Port of Montreal.
A Quebec Superior Court judge has approved a $31.5 million settlement for victims of historic sexual abuse by the Archdiocese of Quebec, ending lawsuits dating back to 1940. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
The judge in Quebec Superior Court gave final approval today to a settlement of $31.5 million for survivors of sexual abuse by clergy of the Archdiocese of Quebec. The agreement resolves dozens of lawsuits that have stretched back to incidents as early as 1940. Victims filed claims seeking compensation for assaults perpetrated by members of the archdiocese over many decades. The court's decision puts an end to the protracted legal battle and will see the funds distributed to those who came forward. Officials said the settlement will be administered by a neutral body to ensure fair allocation. The deal was announced on August 15, 226 days after the court first heard the case. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Quebec.
Police pursuit on the Pierre-Laporte Bridge in Quebec City ended in gunfire, leaving one person dead. 3 police forces were involved, and the incident is now under investigation by the independent watchdog. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
Police pursuit on the Pierre-Laporte Bridge turned violent on August 15 when officers from 3 separate forces opened fire. The chase began after a suspect fled the scene, prompting units from the Sûreté du Québec, the Quebec City Police, and a regional squad to converge on the crossing. Witnesses say gunshots rang out as the suspect tried to cross the bridge, and a single individual was found dead at the scene. Emergency crews worked quickly to secure the area and transport the victim. The incident is now under investigation by Quebec's independent police watchdog, which will review the actions of the officers involved. No further injuries have been reported. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Quebec City.
Police in Verdun intervened after a dispute escalated into an armed clash, leaving 1 man seriously injured and 1 woman in custody. The confrontation highlights growing tensions in the borough. Ramai Gaudreau has the full story.
Police say a dispute turned violent on Thursday night in Verdun, spiraling into an armed confrontation that left a man seriously injured. The incident unfolded on August 15, around midnight, near the corner of La Salle and Rue des Seigneurs. Officers responded after hearing gunfire and found the 2 individuals, a man and a woman, engaged in a struggle with firearms. Both were taken into custody at the scene. The man was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries, while the woman remains in police custody pending charges. Investigators are reviewing surveillance footage and interviewing witnesses to piece together what sparked the escalation. No further injuries were reported, and the area has been cleared for residents. Ramai Gaudreau, GMNA News, Verdun.
Let's check your afternoon outlook with a quick look at the forecast starting now. A falling high-pressure ridge and a westerly jet are ushering an overcast, mild afternoon across Montreal. On this date, Montreal once reached a blistering 30.6 degrees in 2025, a spike that broke a regional heat wave sweeping the Great Lakes corridor. Just 4 years earlier, in 2021, the thermometer plunged to 13.2 degrees during an anomalous cold snap that followed a lingering trough from the Arctic. By contrast, the long-term August average hovers around 24 degrees high and 16 degrees low. So today's 21-degree peak feels comfortably below normal, while the low of 16 sits right on the climatological baseline. The live radar screen is empty across the province, with no rain echoes from the south or west. That silence reflects the high-pressure dome sinking over southern Quebec, suppressing lift and keeping moisture aloft. With the westerly jet streaming at roughly 129 kilometers per hour, any disturbance will be sheared away before it reaches the city. We now turn from the radar to the day's outlook. At noon, the city sits under a thick overcast with a temperature of 20 degrees, humidity 82%, and a gentle southerly breeze at 11 kilometers per hour. The high-pressure ridge that dominated yesterday is now weakening, and a falling pressure field is nudging a weak front from the west. That subtle pressure drop, combined with a westerly jet of 129 kilometers per hour aloft, will keep the sky cloud-filled but prevent any showers from developing. Temperatures will climb to a modest 21 degrees by mid-afternoon before slipping back to 19 as the sun sets around 8 o'clock. The ultraviolet index sits at 5. No weather alerts are in effect. With the atmosphere settled, we move on to the 5-day overview. Looking ahead, Monday brings another overcast day with a high of 21 degrees and a low of 16, and a 25% chance of rain as the lingering trough slides east. Tuesday warms to 25 degrees at its peak, staying dry under a thick cloud deck and a low of 18. Wednesday reintroduces moisture. The jet stream will dip, allowing a frontal band to cross, bringing a 45% rain probability and temperatures near 24 degrees high, 17 low. Thursday clears dramatically, offering a clear sky and a high of 24 degrees with only a 20% chance of stray showers.
Friday remains pleasant and clear, high 23, low 15, as high pressure rebuilds. The pattern shifts from unsettled early in the week to a drier finish. And that's your weather. Remember, the lunch break is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcasts.
Up next, traffic on the bridges, the last Montreal Country Music Festival lineup, and the Canadiens Captaincy Showdown. We will be right back. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes, the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Major hindrance on the Honoré-Mercier Bridge continues to choke the link between Montreal and Conoque. Traffic is crawling, especially during the morning peak, and commuters should anticipate at least 15 minutes of delay. A second bottleneck builds on Rue Saint-Urbain where the overpass over Autoroute Ville-Marie is blocked, forcing drivers onto side streets and adding another 10 to 15 minutes. The service lanes on Boulevard Cavendish are also closed, turning that corridor into a single-lane squeeze that slows traffic through the West End. Minor hindrances persist on Boulevard Lacordaire at Autoroute 40 and on Boulevard Métropolitain near Henry Bourassa. Those sections move at a snail's pace but remain passable. Construction adds to the mix. Atwater Avenue sees partial lane closures for aqueduct work, and the Autoroute 3140 interchange near Lavaltrie is under reconstruction, extending travel times for anyone heading east. No transit disruptions have been reported, so the subway and bus network remain unaffected this morning.
Lasso Montreal Country Music Festival kicks off today at Parc Jean-Drapeau, delivering 2 days of country hits from Thomas Rhett, Mumford & Sons, John Party, Co Wetzel and more. Perfect soundtrack for a summer afternoon. Right next door, Old Dominion takes the stage for a high-energy concert, giving fans a chance to hear their latest singles live. If you're in the mood for a classic film, Cinéma Moderne is showing Bonnie and Clyde, the iconic 1960s crime drama that still thrills with its daring style. Looking ahead, the Vans Warped Tour rolls into Parc Jean-Drapeau later this week, promising a packed lineup of rock and alternative acts that will dominate the city's music scene. And for anyone craving sport, the Montreal Beach Pro Tour runs through the weekend, showcasing world-class beach volleyball right on the waterfront. Stay tuned for more and enjoy the summer buzz. And now here's Jason with sports. Fans, strap in. Today's Habs headlines blend history, rising talent, and trade fallout. Back in the summer, the Canadiens turned the captain's armband into a fan-driven contest, sparking wild cheers, angry boos, and even some ugly crying. That experiment reminded everyone the Habs thrive on drama, and it fuels the ongoing debate over who should wear the C next season. Prospect LJ Mooney refuses to let his size define his path, declaring confidence that he can crack the NHL lineup. He points to Cole Caulfield's breakout and Lane Hutson's rapid rise as proof that the Canadiens reward skill over stature, and he's ready to earn his spot. An audit of Kent Hughes' trade history highlights moves that never paid off, with the most glaring misstep still echoing in the roster. Rookie Jakob Dobish's promising sophomore year now carries extra pressure, while Ivan Demidov's hefty contract raises questions about long-term cap flexibility. Keep watching the Canadiens, where every story reshapes the next game. Thanks, Jason. Rossi's Burgers opens its new spot at 1800 Rue Notre Dame in Griffintown, adding another bite of local flavor to Montreal's southwest. The boutique quick-service burger joint, part of the Happy Belly food group, is now run by Karma Hospitality, which plans 10 Rossi's locations across Quebec. This is Karma's second Griffintown outlet, and it brings a menu of handcrafted burgers, locally sourced toppings, and a casual, community-focused vibe. Neighbors can expect a new gathering place where workers, families, and students can grab a quick, quality meal without leaving the neighborhood. It's a reminder that homegrown businesses keep Montreal's streets lively and our plates full. The opening also creates several jobs for local residents, reinforcing Griffintown's growing reputation as a culinary hub. Later we'll bring you the heartbreaking details of the Western Quebec highway crash that claimed 2 lives. We will be right back. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news. Lasso Montreal launches this weekend on Isle St. Helene, turning Parc Jean-Drapeau into a vibrant hub of live music, food stalls, and interactive art installations that have drawn hundreds of visitors already. The festival promises daily performances and community activities throughout the island. Carl Dumont is there. Carl Dumont.
Thanks, CJ Waterhouse. I'm standing on the grassy promenade of Parc Jean-Drapeau, Isle St. Helene, where the last Montreal festival has just burst into life. Bright banners ripple above a sea of umbrellas as hundreds of locals and tourists weave between stages pulsing with indie rock, jazz brass, and electronic beats. The scent of sizzling kebabs and sweet crepes drifts from a line of food trucks, while children chase bubbles near a giant interactive sculpture that lights up with each touch. On the lakefront, a family spreads a picnic blanket, their laughter mixing with the rhythm of a drum circle. The city's cultural department has turned the park into a pop-up village, offering art workshops, pop-up galleries, and a kids' playground that glows at dusk. This weekend, the island becomes a shared canvas where music, food, and imagination collide. For many families, Lasso is the summer heartbeat that brings the city together. Carl Dumont, virtually at Parc Jean-Drapeau. Welcome back. A two-vehicle collision on Route 105 in the Outaouais region left 2 dead and several injured, according to the Sûreté du Québec. Police are investigating the cause. Colette Barbeau has the full story.
A two-vehicle collision on Route 105 in the Outaouais region of Western Quebec left 2 people dead and several others wounded on Friday afternoon. Sûreté du Québec officers arrived within minutes, securing the scene and directing traffic while emergency crews tended to the injured. Witnesses said the crash occurred near a curve where visibility is limited, and a police spokesperson confirmed that authorities are investigating the cause. The highway, a key north-south route through the area, was closed for several hours as investigators collected evidence and tow trucks cleared the damaged vehicles. Drivers were urged to seek alternate routes while the investigation continues. Colette Barbeau, GMNA News, Outaouais. 6 separate crashes on Quebec highways on Friday left at least 6 dead and several injured, prompting officials to urge drivers to exercise extra caution as the school year approaches. Ramai Gaudreau has the full story.
6 separate crashes on Quebec highways on Friday left at least 6 people dead and left several others injured. The collisions unfolded across different routes, each resulting in emergency crews responding and transporting victims to nearby hospitals. Police confirmed that the incidents occurred within a few hours of one another, prompting provincial officials to issue a reminder for drivers to stay alert as the school year draws near. Authorities said weather conditions were typical for late summer and did not appear to be a factor, but they urged motorists to reduce speed, avoid distractions, and keep a safe distance from other vehicles. The province will continue monitoring traffic safety throughout the week. Ramai Gaudreau, GMNA News, Montreal.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us on the lunch break. Tonight's look at the $2.3 billion expansion of our port reminded us how our city keeps growing. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories that matter to you. Until then, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.